Hello, my name's Henry. I'm going to tell you a little bit tonight about a coon hunting incident when I was about 10 years old, back down in the Round Tree Bend, they called it. It's a big bottom area down by a creek. Decided one night that coons were pretty expensive. They were about 50, 60 bucks on a big old coon, and smaller coons was worth about 30 to 40 bucks. So I used to be scared of the dark, and so I always kept a coon dog that was like to run and would also do a dual purpose as a coon hunter and also a protector. Never could get nobody to go out and go coon hunting with me because they was all scared of the dark too. So I just learned to hunt by myself. That way if I got tired, I could try and walk home, or I could lean up against a log and go to sleep. Well, I started out that night getting stuff ready about 7 o'clock. And Dad told me, he said, you need to be careful out there. He figured I'd just go out past the backyard and just sit there. I had big plans. I was going to make me some spending money. So I went out and took a look at the dog, and he was outside the dog box and barking and raising hell. So I was always taught that, Grandpa told me and Dad told me, that if the coon dog's out of the box at night about dark, barking, restless, that meant the coons were running. So I went in and had a big early supper, and my dad had usually been drinking, so I really didn't want to be home at nighttime. So on weekends I'd take off and coon hunt by myself because nobody else wanted to go, and mainly just to get away from the house. And I figured if I was out there in them woods, wasn't nobody going to find me anyway. Maybe I wouldn't be taken back to the projects. So I got my coveralls on and coat, because it was probably about 40 degrees out. Got my rubber boots on, hunting light and gun and a little bit of ammo, and grabbed my lead and went out there and put it on the dog and headed down to the big cornfield that was just outside the yard there on the neighbor's property, and he didn't mind I coon hunt, and coon just eating his corn anyway. So we headed out. I lit my lantern up. I always carried a lantern and had a shade on the back of it so it wouldn't blind me, but it gave me a pretty good view. I wouldn't have to use my spotlight up or a flashlight. So I'm walking down to the corn that was taken out of the field there, and just the old stalks sticking up. So I was walking down the roads, and I got away from the house probably a quarter of a mile, and set my lantern down and readjusted the gun that was on my shoulder. Pet the dog a little bit, talked to him, and he was anxious to run. He was an old mountain cur. That's what they called that old coon dog. I didn't care what he was. He's a good buddy dog, and he's a good protector. He didn't let nobody walk up on me. But that night was going to be a little different. I turned him loose and sat there and reached in my coat pocket, and I don't know if they still sell this or not, but used to. They had this stuff, and it was beef jerky, but it was in like a chewing tobacco can, like a skull can. So I got me a pinch of that beef jerky and started chewing on it, sucking the juice out of it. That old dog headed down them corn rows, and I could hear him snorting and hear them feet just a-getting it. But down at the end of that field was a creek, and they changed the name of that little creek. It wasn't very big. It's probably like 6, 7 foot wide. Places it was pretty deep, and then there's other places it's real shallow. That old creek was called Boyer Creek. It used to be called Lick Creek, and then before that it was, now that was back in the 1800s, it was called Nigger Lick. But it changed through the time, now it's just called Boyer. So, I headed down to the old cornfield, following way behind the dog. Of course, he got 4 legs, I only got 2. And I heard him stop. Then I heard one hell of a big splash, and I was like, yep. He either dove in or he fell in, trying to cross a log over top of that creek. I kind of chuckled to myself, thought it kind of funny. In any case, it was going to be a good laugh. So I worked my way through the brush to the creek there and turned the big light on and shined, and I found me a big log that had fell across the creek there years before. So I headed toward the big log and got up there and took my lantern and shined a little bit, climbed up on top of the log, and started easing my way across that log. I got about 3/4 of the way across that creek, and I just happened to look down, and there was a big, huge dent in the sand. Bunch of dog tracks. Like, yep. He fell in. It didn't bother him none, because he liked to swim anyway. So I kind of laughed a little bit, like that serves him right. He's probably trying to run across that log instead of trying to walk across like I was. It was kind of funny. So I got across the log, jumped off under the sand there, trying to find me a place to climb up that bank there, and there was a trail, looked like a deer path, so I thought, well, it was good enough for the deer and stuff, but good enough for me. I started up that little hill, and right at the top of that hill, there's a little flat spot, and that's where a barbed wire fence was. It was 4-tier barbed wire fence. So I found me a place that it was a little high. I ducked down and slid under like a rat. Got on the other side, and that's where the Round Tree Bend starts. And Big Bottom, there's like 500-600 acres in there. So I sat there for a few minutes and listened, trying to get an idea on which way that dog went. I plumb forgot when I held my lantern up high, I could see there was a flat spot, maybe about 60-70 foot wide. Right beyond that was a hill straight up and down. Like, well, I guess I either got to go around that hill or I'm going to have to climb her. I thought I'd walk a little ways, maybe I'll find an easier way getting up there. Because them hills back in those days back there, they were straight up and down. You get halfway up, hell, you could fall to the bottom and row in that creek. So I'm walking along. There was an old woman that lived way back, further back up in them hills up there, way over to the south side, and she lived alone. She'd raised in that house, and her parents passed away, and her sister had moved away to Missouri. So she lived up there by herself. I knew of her. Of course, I didn't know the story, but I knew of her. I'd seen her a few times. I'd met her a time or two at the little red and white store in the little village. She always seemed okay to me. But you know how people misunderstand some people, and they talk, they wag their tongues. So, pretty much it was all I knew, what I'd heard, and a few times I'd seen the old lady. So I kept walking, and way off in the distance, you could hear a corn dryer going in one of them old corn bins. You could hear livestock periodically, an old cow bellowing out there, or some old hogs grunting while they was rooting in the mud. Other than that, wasn't a lot of noises. All of a sudden I heard that dog open up. He's way down headed toward the other creek. This Boyer Creek empties out into what they call the Macoupin. So, at one time, there was an old house down there, an old barn. Only left was the foundation and the old pump, hand pump down there. So I knew if I got down there, I got thirsty, I could just use that old pump handle down an old well, get some good old spring water. So I headed that way. Well, along that hill, that fence runs real tight to that hill. So you have to be really careful you don't get yourself scratched up on barbed wire and the briars. So I'm moving pretty slow, trying not to get stuck by either one because they both kind of smart. And there's a place where it opens up. Well, I hadn't hunted too much down there, so I kind of forgot. There's 3 big springs down there, and they look like ponds. But they're only about knee deep. But that water is cold. Shine your light on it, and you see the sand bubbling, and that's the water coming up out of the ground. I was walking along, and looking up in the trees, and listening for that dog to open up again. I took one step too many. I was plumb up to my knees in that cold water. Dude, that was cold. I got out of there and took my boot off, poured the water out of that one, wrung my sock out, put my sock back on, stuck it in the dryer with a boot I just emptied, and pulled the other boot off, pulled the sock off, wrung that one out, slid it back on, and put my boot back on. I figured as long as I kept moving, because it wasn't supposed to be cold that night, only going to stay in the 40s, that I could walk and stay warm enough. So I kept walking. And I heard that dog way down there against the old Macoupin. I kept walking along, and something at the corner of my eye caught my attention. So I'd walk a little bit, and I'd watch out the side of my eye. Kept noticing something paralleling me. Now that's kind of strange. Maybe it's just an old deer or an old cow. That guy had cows up there. I hadn't seen them, but they were there because I seen the fresh pies. So I'm walking along, and I'm noticing this thing going from one big oak tree to another big oak tree. Like, that don't look like no deer to me. Look like it's bipedal. So I walk a little slower, and I'm still watching. But I noticed every time I'd stop and turn my head to look, it would go behind a tree on me. So I'd only catch glimpses of it now and then in the moonlight. So the dog treed down there, and I figured, well, I better pick up the pace a little bit and get down there. Whatever it is that's pacing me, probably just an old cow or a deer. So I picked up the pace, started following the fence, so I could catch where them 2 creeks met up. One emptied into the other. You had to be careful about the Macoupin because there were some really deep holes in there. So I definitely didn't want to fall in that because that was quite a bit wider than that small Boyer Creek that I just come through. So, come to a big, looked like a weed patch. So I'm following deer trails through there, saving a little easier walking. And I notice now, this thing come out of the woods, but it's following the wood line. So, I'm still keeping an eye on it. But the trees now are aiming away from me, kind of breaking off. So whatever it is, but once it stay up with me, it's going to have to come out there in the brush. So I'm walking. Sure enough, it starts coming in to those big tall weeds. Got to where I couldn't see it just every so often, but the brush would be moving the weeds. So I'm like, well, sounds pretty big. Usually a cow won't follow you that far, not at nighttime. So I set the lantern down for a minute and got the gun off my shoulder and shined the light and crammed the shell in the chamber and locked her down. Have no bolt action. So now I'm walking with the lantern in the other hand, and I got the rifle aiming toward the ground in case something decided to charge and I got to protect myself. And I'm walking along and trying to watch this thing moving parallel with me. And I stopped for just a second. And I listened, and I could hear it take 2 steps. I'm like, what in the hell is that? I was pretty short, so I couldn't see way over them weeds or anything. Hell, the weeds was over my head. Big old horse weeds. So I take a few more steps. I hear it take a few steps. Like, I'm getting tired of this crap. I guess I better find something and throw it. So I come across a big giant crawdaddy hoe, and you know they make them big, looks like tubes stick up out of the ground out of mud. Like, okay, you want to play? Game on. I reached down there and grabbed that crawdaddy tube and picked it up, broke it in half. So now I got 2 things to throw. So I set my gun down on the ground. I proceeded to wind up like a ball player and throw that big old chunk of mud. Sure enough, it hits over in that vicinity. And I hear 2 steps. And I'm thinking, now, maybe it's a deer. Yeah, I might kill me a deer tonight. So I grabbed the other one and the dirt clod and put it in my right hand. I wind up and I throw that baby as hard as I can. It hits about the same spot. I hear something give out one hell of a grunt, and I'm like, we ain't got no wild pigs here. So now I'm getting a little worried. This thing ain't running. It only take a few steps and grunt. So I picked the rifle up. It's still on safety. So now I'm walking with it in both hands, trying to figure out what the hell this thing is. Now I'm walking and I'm watching to my left. I don't hear the coon dog. And I'm thinking, shit. Hope he didn't go across that creek. That's about the only time that dog was on the trail. It's the only time he'll shut up. If he gonna go across the creek. I'm watching this big shadow. And all of a sudden it comes to that big hydrant thing down there, that hand pump. And it's a disced-in field. You know, they disced it up. So there ain't no weeds there. And I'm like, well, whatever it is, we're about to collide down here because there ain't no weeds. I step out in that disc open field, and in the moonlight I could see that pump, you know, down there, the old hand pump where the old house and barn used to be. So I'm thinking, okay, it's got to come out in the open where I can see it. I'll get a good shot. If it comes after me, I'll be able to see it real good. Won't mistake it for anything else. But I was always told, don't ever shoot unless you're positive what you're shooting at. You end up shooting somebody on accident. So I always try to remember that. I hear them weeds a breaking, and all of a sudden, this thing stepped out in the open. About the time it stepped out in the open, something hit me from the front, knocked the wind out of me. I dropped my damn lantern, dropped the gun, and I'm skidding on my back, pushing myself with my feet. Here's that damn coon dog. He turned and come back, I guess checking to see where I was at. I done thought that thing to the left of me got me, and I wasn't even sure what the hell it was. I get up, dusting myself off and spitting some dirt, cussing the dog a little bit. And he's licking me in the face. He thinks that's funny. I guess one turn deserves another. I laughed at him for falling in the creek. He laughed at me for falling on my ass. Turnabout's fair play. So I'm sitting there dusting myself off, and I see this dog. He is stopped, dead. Now his ears are standing up, and his tail's up over his back, and I'm like, uh-oh. Gonna be one hell of a fight in a minute. He probably spotted a coon. So I'm checking everything over, and this dog gets right in front of me and just bristles up and lets out one of the damnedest growls you ever heard. I never heard him growl like that. It sounded like it come from his gut area. One of them low rumbles. He was meaning business. He was going to give something to chomp. So I'm shining my lantern trying to see what the hell it is. Yeah. Through the edge of the weeds, I see these orange eyes staring at me. I'm like, uh-oh. What the hell's got orange eyes like that? No blinking, just steady glowing through that brushy-looking weed stuff. I'm looking, and I'm like, holy crap. Whatever it is must be pretty big. I'm guessing probably 7, 8 foot tall, maybe. Now I'm concentrating on the eyes. Them eyes are almost a foot apart. Like, Jesus Christ, whatever the hell that is. I hope that ain't a bull. If it is, one of us is going to get hurt tonight. He may get me, but that dog's going to get a chomp of him, and he's going to be a sore son of a bitch come morning. He ain't getting me for free. So I'm watching this thing, and the dog's growling. I'm noticing the dog ain't going after it. So I start egging the dog on. You watch him, boy. He turned and looked at me, and he'd look back in that direction. All of a sudden, it was like this thing closed its eyes. Couldn't see it no more. What the hell? Well, I'm sitting out here in this open field because at least I got a halfway fighting chance that before it gets upon me, at least I'll be able to see what it is that's about to pounce on me. So, instead of trying to leave and headed home, I was going to stay in that field. That was a mistake. Wouldn't be the first and wouldn't be the last I'd make. But I chose to keep following that disc field where I could see all the way around me. I wasn't going to get pounced on without being seen. So we come up to the old road that takes you back up on top of Roundtree Hill. Used to be an old house up there too, and old cemetery. So the dog, he's still walking along with me. He's still watching. This thing is still pacing us. I just can't see it very good. Every so often I catch a glimpse of it, but I can't make out much of anything. So I'm like, well, we got to get out of this field because the field ends just a little ways ahead of us. There's an old field road that goes up top of the hill there at Roundtree Hill. So I'm like, well, I ain't got no choice. I definitely don't want to be walking through the woods with whatever that thing is following me. So I made a poor choice, but it worked. I put the dog on the lead. I figured at least that'll buy me at least a couple of seconds. We turned in that old field road and headed up top of the round tree hill. I could hear that thing. It probably wasn't about 20 foot away from us. And the whole time I could hear it breathing. I could hear it sniffing. And I could hear my dog growling. I kept walking. Like, oh boy, I don't know what you are. I see you pop up out of them weeds. You come after me. I'm going to empty one in on you. You may get me, but you're going to be one sore son of a bitch. So I keep walking and I'm watching. I can hear this thing. Got to the top of the hill up there and I could see the two old houses and the old barn. And I'm walking along, not even paying attention to the sky, noticing that it's getting darker out. All of a sudden, I come to the fence and there's a gate. So I'm trying to hold the dog, hold the gun and the lantern, and unhook this chain that's hooked on a nail around the gate and around the pole. I finally fumble around, I get the damn chain unhooked, and I'm swinging it around to the gate. And out of nowhere, I kid you not, there was just a real quick flash of light. It lit up that whole area. Before it even blinked out, there was one of the damnedest cracks of thunder you ever heard. I about shit myself. Right there. That would have been a mess. It scared the shit out of me. I jumped, the dog jumped, and whatever was in that brush, it jumped. I flung that gate open. Dog come through. I flung that gate shut, and I'm fumbling around trying to get it latched. I feel 1, 2, 3, 4 big old giant sprinkles on the grot roll. Now I got to make a choice. When something's after you or something's pacing you, whether it be a dog or whatever, a cow, a hog, mountain lion, and yes, there's mountain lions out there. Beyond what the conservation will tell you, they don't exist and panthers don't. They're full of shit. I've seen them. And yes, we had them up there. You'd run across them at nighttime sometimes. They wouldn't bother you unless you cornered one, but they'd jump up, scare the shit out of you. So I'm feeling these sprinkles picking up. Now I'm hearing low rumble thunder. I'm like, ruh-roh. We gotta make a break for it. So I hollered at the dog and we started jogging first. I pulled my hat down low. Seemed like every step it got harder. I made a run for this old barn. The bottom part's all open. Well, I got in there. I decided, got the stupid idea, instead of me going up to the loft, I went to the center part of that barn. Don't ask me what gave me this stupid idea, but I did it. Had a little turn latch made out of wood and a screw or a nail. So I turned that little latch, and above there was a great big hook latch. I unhooked it, climbed up 3 steps into a cornhole place. It's a corn crib. It's where they would store ear corn at a long time ago. This barn was so old it was made with pegs, not nails. So I go in there and there's a latch in there. 3 latches, so I latched all 3 of them. And now I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, good, I'm safe. Whatever it was, never find me in here. Wrong I was. Now it's downpouring and you could hear that rain hitting that tin. It sounded like somebody rocking that tin. Hard as that rain was hitting them big old drops and thunder and lightning. Like, well, at least we're dry. So me and the dog settle in there and I noticed he's still kind of keeping an eye out, but I'm like, well, he just worried that whatever it is might show up. I ain't even thinking. I'm just more concerned with I'm dry, I'm out of the weather. I'll sit here and kind of finish drying out. So I set my gun down and reach in my hunting coat. Got a couple dog biscuits, give it to the dog. And I got thinking, he might be lucky it go to rain and them coons that come in this barn. That'd be easy pickings. Yeah, what ended up coming in that barn wasn't no damn coon. We was sitting there, he was eating on his dog biscuits. I was chewing on my jerky. And I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I started hearing, like, what the hell? I look at the dog thinking it's him. He just sitting there. Like, what the hell? Something's sniffing. Like, shit. So I grab my lantern and hold it up over my head, and I'm looking through the slats. I see something that's huge come in there. I mean, this thing was the size of a cow. Like, what the hell? And I'm thinking, they probably put cows in here, and I didn't know anything about it. So maybe they're coming in to get dry. Well, I got the latch shut, so hey, we don't have to worry about him getting me. So I'm sitting there, and I don't know what made me do it, but I look up, and I'm like, oh, shit. That wall that I'd come into, through that doorway, that wall was only about 10 foot high. Like, this ain't good. Technically, if I had had a ladder, I could have climbed up that wall and jumped out to where I'd just come out from, the hallway. But now I'm starting to worry a little bit. That dog's going up there, sticking his nose up to them cracks, and he's sniffing and he's a-looking. That old tail is straight up over his back. His ears are perked up. And I started hearing it. Sound like big dog prints coming in. Dog tracks. Dog feet. But it wasn't 4. It was only 2. Like, what the hell kind of dog is walking on 2? I'm in there listening, and I can hear it. It's headed straight for that door. So I back up against the other wall, check the gun, still got it on safety. I got the dog in front of me, kind of buy me a little bit of time in case whatever this thing is kicks that door in or comes in. Slow it down so I can get a shot. All of a sudden I hear the footsteps stop. I got the lantern sitting there, shining. And all of a sudden I see a black nose. Damn, looked like a big-ass dog nose. I got the gun up to my shoulder now, like, whatever you are, you'll make a big mistake opening that door, if you can get it open. And I'm watching, all of a sudden I hear sniff, 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 sniff. Then I hear the sound of claws raking slightly down that wall. And now I am ready to crap myself. But I was too scared to go crap. All of a sudden, I seen it moving, going like it's going to go outside. I go, this ain't good. Where the hell's that thing going? It really must be looking for me. So I watch it, and all I can see is just glimpses of it through these slats. You know, the slats wasn't no about yay wide. It was like the area in for the corn. And I'm watching, and I could see this thing moving. I still couldn't make out exactly what it was. I just know the nose looked like a dog nose, and them eyes were orange, kind of like an amber color. This thing goes out into the pouring rain. It must have knew about this barn. Either that or it just followed me up there, but I have a funny feeling that thing was probably sleeping in that barn, probably either up in the hayloft or maybe there in the hallway, or heck, maybe in the corn crib where I was at. But it just so happened I got there first. This thing goes around to the outside, and I can hear it. It's raking claws down them boards, and you could hear every time it skipped a little place, that's where the two boards had come together. And you'd hear it scrape, scrape. That right there was enough to rattle you. I'm sitting there thinking, there ain't no way. I ain't fast enough to outrun this thing. Here I'm going to make my stand. I might die here, but this is where I'm going to make my stand. It's either me or him. The odds are in my favor because I got the dog there, and I got a loaded gun, and I got a whole sack of ammunition. I ain't going down with a fight. This thing was toying with me. So I'm thinking, if I get where I can't hear it, I better start watching above, because it might come up one of them walls and get in there with me, and then I'm going to be trapped in there with this thing. So I'm listening, and that thing let out a howl that it would make a grown man scream. And I think what it was doing, it thought I was in that corn crib, but it was going to make sure. It was going to try to get me to screw up and make a noise or run out of there. But I wasn't doing neither. I was hunkered down being quiet, and luckily that dog was just low rumbling, so this thing just kept like it was trying to draw us out. Or maybe it wanted me to leave so it could have the place. That barn was big enough we could have shared it. But he wasn't coming in the corn crib with me. I wasn't that anxious. I know deer sometimes they'll go in an old barn when it's raining or hailing or snowing. So me and the dog sitting there, and there's some old junk cars that was kind of littered along the weeds in there. And every so often I'd hear something hit the side of one of them old cars like it was pissed off. Like, oh, buddy, you can be on them cars all you want to. Just don't come in here. So I'm sitting there listening and hoping that this thing just gives up, leaves me the hell alone. I'm too scared to go to sleep, too scared to run. I sure as hell ain't gonna go out there and try to run in that rain carrying a gun and a lantern and trying to have a dog in tow. I don't think so. Not being able to see where this thing's at, and it can see me, but I can't see it. I don't think so. So I'm listening. I don't hear it no more. But the dog has still got his ears up, his tail up. I'm like, he must sense something. All of a sudden, I heard something from above. Like, oh, shit. That was the longest time it took me to look up, because I didn't want to look up. I just knew this thing was above my head someplace. It had figured out a way to climb up. This thing had found a way around to where the loft ladder was. It went up the loft. Now it's above my head. And I'm looking at the slats in the floor. That's where they used to keep the old hay and straw. I could see it, shadow of the feet. Every so often I'd catch a glimpse of something up there. But it's hard to see at nighttime. I didn't dare turn that spotlight on because the lantern never went dead. At least I got 6 hours left on that light to be able to see. After that, I'm walking with a lighter. That ain't no fun. I hear it, take a few steps, take a few sniffs, and it was toying with me. I didn't shoot, but I still, wasn't sure. There was a place where one of the boards was broke. And I'm watching this thing head toward that hole. I'm like, dude, this ain't gonna be good. It stopped right before that hole. All of a sudden I heard noise up there. I'm assuming this thing was getting down to look down through that hole, probably looking for me. I slowly looked up, and there was them orange eyes looking right through that big old spot in the floor about that big around. It's looking at me, and I'm looking at those eyes. It didn't growl. It wasn't doing anything, just looking at me, and I was looking at it. Of course, I was about to shit myself. I was like, well, I guess this is the day that I bought the farm. This thing removed its eyes from away from that board, and I seen an arm come down through there, and it looked sort of human-like, but it was hairy. Had long black fingernails. And it reminded you almost like a coon hand. The thumb was real short. And I'm looking at this thing, and all of a sudden I see the eyes come back and look down in the hole. Like, what is this son of a bitch trying to do? It would only go as far as, like, up to here. Like, the hell? I'm still scared, though, because that's pretty good-sized hands. There ain't no way I'm leaving that loft unless that thing falls in there where I'm at, and then I'm going to tear a new hole through that wall. I'm going to run like hell. You're going to have to work for it. So I listen, and I hear it walking away from above, walking away from where I'm at. All of a sudden I hear this thing coming down that ladder. Like, shit. I'm terrified. Heard it come walking back through the hallway. And it come to the door. I could hear it turn that latch. Scratch on the door. But it didn't growl. Okay. I get my spotlight out. Get the gun ready. And I figured, okay, he comes through that door, I'm going to plug him. I turned that light on. These boards are 12 inches wide. Then there's a little space and another 12-inch board. This thing's eyes were so far apart that one eye was on one side of the board and the other eye was on the other side in the crack. I got a good look at those eyes. There was something haunting in those eyes. They would almost just mesmerize you. And this thing walked right out into the rain. Just like it was going through a grocery store. I listened to it go further and further away. The rain stopped. Like, I ain't taking no chances. So I sat there for a good hour or two. Looked at my watch and was like, well, it's about 4:30 in the morning. We might just set it out here until that sun comes up. And I got thinking, I got a couple hour walk home. So I got to make a decision. Do I want to walk knowing this thing's out there somewhere? Or do I want to wait it out and just have a longer walk? I decided to sit there a little bit longer. Finally, I started seeing the sun kind of start to peak a little bit. I haven't seen this thing around, so I'm going to take off and head out. I opened that door, walked out there, shined the lantern around, shined the spotlight around, didn't see nothing. I got probably about 10 foot away from that barn. And I looked over my shoulder, and there that son of a bitch was, standing in the trees. Just a staring. I pulled the spotlight out and shined on it. At this time, I could see the whole body. That was one big-ass dog man standing there. He was gray with black, deep shadow in him. Them eyes just a glowing, prettiest white teeth you ever seen. It was watching me, and I was watching it. The dog was watching him. Her, whatever it was. It didn't charge. I didn't raise the gun up at it. I just kept slowly walking. All of a sudden, I seen it head the other way. I'm like, phew. So I started walking a little bit faster and got down to the old gate. But that gate was padlocked shut with a chain, so the dog went under the fence, and I went over the gate and grabbed his lead on the other side so he didn't go back and charge this thing. We're walking the old road back, the old gravel road, and there's a T right there. To the right is this old woman's, you go back to her property. Her house is way back past the gate. I'm walking along. Next thing you know, I hear a twig snap. I'm like, shit. I whirl that spotlight around and shine, and I'll be goddamn. There was a woman standing there. I looked at her. I said, I know you, don't I? She goes, you do know these woods ain't safe to be in at nighttime. I said, yeah. Yeah, I just seen something back there. It looked like a big-ass wolf, Dogman. She laughed. She goes, yeah. That's the Dogman of Roundtree Bend. You wasn't going to shoot him, was you? I was like, not unless he attacked. I said, why? She goes, he's been seen a lot around here, but he ain't never bothered nobody. But don't give him a reason to. I said, what the hell are you doing out this time of the morning? She said, I followed you all night long and you didn't even know it. She said, I thought I recognized you, Henry. I said, yep. I said, if I'd have seen you out there, I'd have shit down both legs and filled both my boots full of shit. And I said, it's a good thing I didn't see you until up here on this road. She goes, why don't you walk down to the house with me so I'll walk you back to my house and I'll give you and the dog a ride home. She goes, but you got to eat breakfast with me. Good. I said, because I don't know what the hell that sumbitch was other than a big-ass dog man. I really don't want to be out in the woods with that sumbitch running around. She goes, he's harmless. Let you do something to him. So I followed her back to the house, and she whipped up some bacon and eggs, and come to find out, when my uncle was a young man, my dad's brother, him and her used to date. Small world. So we was back there, and she was telling me, she said, yeah, she said, one night, my sister come up to spend the weekend at the old farmhouse here, the old home place. Said she got up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, and said the dogs wanted out, so she went to the door to open the door, and she said, there that son of a gun stood right there on the porch. Scared her to death. So she said, he's harmless, but just don't, he was just curious about what you were doing, probably. So we ate bacon and eggs, and she took me and the dog home. I was telling my dad about that big old dog man. He's like, you're just a puss, you're scared of the dark. I said, I've been out since last night. I'm hunting in the bottoms that you won't hunt in, so who's the real chicken shit? Sounds like you are. I proved my point. I seen something out there that followed me around, plus had an old lady following me around I had no clue about. But I stayed out there until daylight. Where's you at? Oh, you're home drinking beer, wasn't you? We know who the puss is, it ain't me. I said, but I will tell you this. There's one hell of a big dog man up there at Roundtree Bend. And if that don't scare the shit out of you, That old woman living up there will. She'll follow you to the woods. So just a little word of advice to you guys out there when you're out hiking, hunting, whatever. Don't shoot at one of these dogmen. All you do is take a good situation and make it real bad. You may not make it out of the woods. The ones that's originals, they ain't the ones you gotta worry about unless you shoot one. But just because you see one, there's probably 2 or 3 or more, because they usually run in packs. But you're only going to get to see one of them. And besides that, the forest is their home. We're the trespassers. So do yourself a favor. Don't try to be a macho man and shoot at it. As long as it ain't attacking, let it be. Because anytime you're in the woods, those things could have you in a heartbeat if they really wanted you. The only reason why I survived that night is because I didn't shoot at it. I had lots of chances I could have, but I didn't. So if you want to have a bad experience, stay good. When you see one, just back away. Don't aim your gun at it. Don't shoot at it. You might live to tell the tale like I did. I'd imagine that old boy's got a hell of a pack by now up there at Roundtree Bend. He probably had several litters. So just know this. These dogmen are out there just like Bigfoot and these other creatures. When you go in those woods, you're trespassing into their home. So just be a little respectful. You might live to tell the tale. If not, they may or may not find chunks of you. But not all these dogmen are bad like they say. I mean, it don't mean you want to go up and shake hands with them, because they probably don't want to shake your hand anyway. But it does mean we can coexist. And it's what you do as to where you go home that night. You're out there hunting or hiking. Just take my word for it. Those creatures, you don't want to mess with them. That'd be like going bear hunting with a stick, and the bear's got the stick. So just be careful when you're out there, because 90% of the time out there, they've done spotted you way before you even notice they're around. They're just watching. They're curious. Y'all have a good night, and I'll see you on the next one. Good night.